have the status say with two things. A government is required to prevent this chaos because we won't have more chaos, and government jumps in and prevents the chaos. No, politicians are not an exception to the laws of physics, and also not to the second law. I would even say that if I worked and I create order, visible order and invisible chaos by burning sugar, but politicians create visible chaos and invisible chaos, so they are a high speed lane to chaos. They are very much in touch with the second law, we might say. They are the high road to destruction. The other argument is that because of this taxation, that wealth discrepancies are leveled out. And I will say that it's also in violation with the second law. Because if you make an analogy and you say, when I have a bucket of water and I put a spoon of salt in there, then what are the chances that all the salt will go to one place? That's a very small chance, because it is a very ordered configuration, and we know that is very unlikely that the carbon molecules in the bottle, that they all meet up in the same place. It's very unlikely. They will disperse. Now, if you put a lot of barriers in the bucket of water, then of course, if you throw the spoon of salt and in between these barriers, then it cannot go anywhere, and you will have an unequal distribution. But to say, if you take out the barriers, then the discrepancies will increase, that is very unlogical. It is not a statistical likely outcome. And the same is if you look at barriers that are created by governments and states, then you would see that you have very poor people in Africa, for example, and they like to work in a richer part in Europe, and they are stopped at the border by the border police, and they are stopped with guns, and there's a barrier, and they cannot penetrate this barrier. When people here would like to buy cheap agricultural foods or any products that they would be able to produce there, then subsidies are used by governments on the one hand to make agricultural products from within Europe. It's the same in the US and all rich countries. They would prevent agricultural subsidies to make things artificially, the produce of European farmers artificially cheap, and they have import barriers to make things from poor farmers from outside Europe extra expensive. So the consumer is of course in dire straits because of this. But to say that taking away these barriers of these borders would cause an increase in wealth disparity, that is very statistically very unlikely. It is much more likely that the poor will go to where the wages are highest, and the rich people would spend their money where the regions where the people produce the cheapest and where there are most poor, which even would not make it necessary for the poor to come to the rich. You could just have some transportation, and the produce would go back and forth, and there would be a much more equal distribution of wealth. And it is no different from the carbon dioxide molecules in the bottle. So did I say about everything there was to say about this? I think so. So feel free to leave any comments or rate it if you like the subject matter. Here I have a can with soda, and there are a lot of carbon dioxide molecules inside this can, and they are enclosed by a barrier of aluminium, and they cannot disperse equally across the room. And we will see what happens if I open this can, and where the carbon dioxide molecules will go, if they will stay all in one place or if they disperse equally across the room. I take away a barrier here. There we go. Can you hear that? Yes, I hope you can. Anyway, what happened is that all the carbon dioxide molecules rushed out into a more equally dispersed fashion when I took away the barriers, and the same will happen with wealth when you take away the barriers. Thank you very much. Goodbye.